Hello, bonsoir, and welcome to the Get French Football News Show. I'm your host, Nathan Staples, and joining me this week are French football extraordinaire Lana Darwood and GFFN writers Eric Devin and Philippe Bargil. Sunday night saw a spectacle that like no other, a fight between two sets of passionate fans that only one wanted to win this one game, and it was punctuated by an explosive final few minutes that we remembered for some time. Yes, we are talking about the Rhone Derby, although it could have maybe used a little bit more Lady Gaga, but much more on that and the action from the weekend that was in Liga after the latest headlines. The action started on Friday evening as Metz registered a shock win over Marseille 1-0 at the Stade Symphorien. Yatjen Joufres netted the only goal with a late free kick. Saturday's highly anticipated clash between Monaco and Nice ended in a 3-0 win for the hosts, who moved 3 points clear of their South Coast rivals at the top of Ligue 1, while third-placed Paris Saint-Germain laboured to a 3-1 win at Dijon. Elsewhere in the multiplex, Caen recorded their first away win of the season, 1-0 over Guingamp, while Lorient also won away from home, defeating Lille by the same scoreline. Steve Mooney's double led Montpellier to a 2-1 win over Bastia in Jean-Louis Gasset's first match in charge, while Rennes recorded an unsurprising 1-1 draw at Bordeaux. On Sunday, Toulouse hosted Angers in the early afternoon kickoff and delivered a firm end to what had been a run of 4 matches without scoring in the league, pasting Stéphane Mounier's side 4-0. Nancy won 2-0 at Nantes later that day, while Saint-Etienne defeated Lyon at home by the same scoreline, both matches ending with nasty dust-ups that saw each team have players sent off. In Ligue 2, Brest won and are now 6 points clear of second-place Reims, with 3 teams a further 2 points back as the promotion race continues to be a tight affair this year. And that's all for the news. But remember, for all your latest headlines and news, head on over to our website at www.getfootballnewsfrance.com and follow us on Twitter at GFFN. We start this week with that Rhone Derby where Saint-Etienne overcame Lyon 2-0 in what was a slightly feisty encounter that was punctuated by 2 red cards for the visitors in the late into added time. Lana, welcome to the show. What went wrong with Lyon at the weekend?
Thanks for having me. What didn't go wrong? All from the setup, the tactics, the starting lineup, the fact that he dropped Valbuena, who's arguably been our best player in the last few months, was a shocker. I mean, Depay wasn't impressive against Marseille at all. The fact that he started was surprising. The formation, the setup, it doesn't, all the players don't do well in it because of that formation. So Fekir's the one that suffers a lot, and he was dragged off at halftime because of it. And then it just doesn't look like their minds were in it, basically, which we've seen on a number of occasions this season, unfortunately.
Yeah, it's not the first time they've maybe been a little absent-minded in these kind of games. Eric, what did you think to Lyon's performance? I mean, they were sort of punctured very early on by Saint-Etienne, and they never seemed to grab control of the game after them.
Well, I did think they had some decent passages after the first goal, and we've seen them come back from deficits in the past this season. But I think the overall approach that I saw from their attack was that the players don't seem that they trust each other. It's not just because Depay is a new arrival and they're not quite sure how to size him up, but Fekir, Lacazette, Tolisso, I mean, they're taking shots from distance. They're not trying to work the ball on the ground. And when Lyon have been really clicking over the past few years, when they're absolutely at their best, it is that not tiki-taka style of play, but it's playing the ball quickly on the ground, short passes, making runs off the last defender. Let this team be really successful, and that requires a high level of trust from the attackers. And I just didn't see that from pretty much anyone on the night. And once that second goal went in, then their shoulders really sagged, and I think that was a done deal from 23, 24 minutes on. It was just really frustrating to see this level of performance.
Philip, let's talk about those 2 red cards that sort of made it a little bit of a flare-up at the end of the game for both Ghezal, who got his second yellow card from it, and Tolisso's flying challenge, which is a little bit of a dangerous one to say the least. What did you think to the two challenges? But was it a little bit of petulance from the young players of Lyon?
Well, they're not that young anymore. I mean, it's not like they have no experience, no big derby experience or anything like that. I for one, don't think it's that big a deal to have sendings off in such a derby, and it shows more passion than anything else. Lyon were, well, not outplayed, but they basically gifted the first goal to Saint-Etienne. Mamano wasn't very good on the second goal. They were never able to get back into the game in the first half. Fekir was nowhere to be seen, and Depay got a lot of stick from the keeper. I mean, really a lot. Probably maybe a bit too much in my opinion. Even though yes, he has been playing. He has. Well, not exactly been playing at Manchester United, but has experience of rather big games. And despite being on Gizal, despite being on Valbuena, they couldn't score a goal. I guess the players were frustrated because this is a big game. This is a game Lyon hate to lose. So I see this as frustration mostly from Tolisso and Gazelle.
And I do want to talk about Gazelles first of all with you, Lana, because it's maybe not the challenge. It's a bit of, let's say, Lemoine's maybe got away with a little swing back at Gazelle when they have a little bit of a tussle and a tickle in the middle of the pitch, but he does offer his hand to the referee and then offer his hand to Lemoine a bit sarcastically. Is that a little bit, again, is that maybe the wrong attitude from that kind of player, even though it's a derby, even though it's that sort of occasion? Is that him showing maybe the wrong attitude that you'd expect from a professional footballer?
No doubt about it. When he received the first yellow, he should have been sent off there. When he went for the referee, in any other league, that's a red card. I mean, you're not supposed to touch the referee. We saw with Arsene Wenger, he got a 4-match suspension in the Premier League, and for Giselle to do that was so stupid. And from there, in his attitude that Lyon were not finishing the game with 11 on the pitch at all, and he just looked so disinterested when coming on, and it's so sad because you look for that bright spark from him, and he seemed more keen on being sent off than to actually do something. And it's a derby and they hate to lose this one, but it just seems like they looked so disinterested, and as Eric said, when the second goal went in, it just they just gave up, which is a shame. But it is what it is, I guess.
Yeah, and it sort of descended from there, didn't it? Tolisso loses his head a bit. I want to quickly mention that both the more senior players in Gonalon and Lacazette did luckily step in at the right moments to cool them down a little bit at least. But we've already mentioned him a couple of times, Eric, and that's Memphis Depay, who did get a pretty harsh 2 in L'Équipe, even though he didn't perform at his best. What do you think to his first couple of outings to Lyon? Is they maybe shoehorning him in a little bit and that's had an effect on their play, or is it a little bit more than just that?
I think it's a number of things. I think that he as a player can do well for Lyon. I think there is potential there. But at that price, given Lyon's more pressing needs, I don't think it was the right move. I think that the team needs a left back. The team probably needs a right back, probably needs another center back, needs a backup for Lacazette. To spend that kind of left winger, it's nice to have, but I mean, as Lana rightly said, Valbuena has been playing really, really well, I think, in that position probably since early December, late November. It wasn't necessarily a pressing need. I understand that Lyon need to get into the Champions League. They want to make a big splash. They're afraid that the season might be slipping away from them, given how well Nice performed. And I understand there's pressure there on the part of Olas, but the fact of the matter is they didn't address needs and with a significant outlay of money. You look at some of the moves that have been made for players. We had Rich Allen on the previous show the other day talking about how he thought the players that were sold from Rennes, particularly Ntap and Grosicki, were being undervalued. And I have to say I agree on the balance of play. if you're going to bring in players to bolster a squad, they should be proven in January. They should be proven players in that division for me. Why, if you want to bring in someone who can play as a left winger, maybe occasionally as a striker, why not pay a quarter of the price and bring in Intap? He's someone who's got something to prove. He's still young. He's 24. He's got a dozen caps or so for France. That would make much more sense than bringing in a player like Depay. And let's face it, the time they brought him in, Lyon were also playing a 4-4-2, which Depay does not necessarily fit very neatly into. And they've since moved to a 4-3-3, but playing Fekir on the right and dropping Valbuena, I think that Genesio's got his personnel wrong. So I don't know. There's a lot to unpack here, but I think basically that Depay could still come good. I don't think that bringing him in January for that price was the correct move in any sense of the word by the club.
No, it much more seemed like you say, a statement of intent from them, or at least an attempt at one. But I want to talk about Genesio now, Philip. Really, is he in danger now? I mean, they've not been very good in the last couple of weeks. They've been in and out. They've obviously fell out of the Champions League. They're probably out of the running for the Champions League places in Ligue 1 now as well. Is Jean-Michel Aulas maybe thinking of changing manager?
He's definitely thinking about it. The question has been mentioned, of course, by every single big media in French sport, and the overall reaction has been that Aulas must be thinking of replacing him, of course, because the results are not there. Because at the start of the second half of last season, Lyon were actually winning games, and things were getting better. They were getting towards the top three, whereas yesterday was really some kind of last chance saloon, because Nice did lose their game at Monaco. We'll be talking about this a little while later, but I don't think Nice will be winning every single game in the second half of the season. But then again, I don't think they'll be losing every single game until May. So this was a great occasion for Lyon to close the gap from 12 points to 9 points with a game in hand, and they didn't do that. Not only didn't they do that, they were poor offensively. They gifted the goals, and Genesio has a lot to answer for. Of course, in hindsight, it's easy to say, why did you buy Depay when you have Valbuena, Cornet, and all that? Why didn't you buy a proper centre back? The thing is, I do believe that Lyon aren't defending as well as they were in the first half of the season. There's I forgot his name, Mukhtar.
Diakabi.
It's Diakabi, yeah. Thank you. Who has actually stepped in and not been too bad, considering his age, his very, very young age. And what happened last night was very, very poor performances from Mamana and my poor young game Biwa. I just don't see this as let's say a wise move to be sacking Genesio at this moment in time. I mean, it's not like there's a transfer window right down the corner. The transfer window has closed. The new guy, if the one who replaces Genesio, if Genesio is sacked, will have to work with what he is given, and I'm not quite sure the person, whoever that may be, will be able to deliver a third spot, which is the aim for Lyon. And it's one question that needs to be asked, and I'm sure you were going to ask it anyway, Nathan. Is can they still make it?
Well, yeah. Thank you for perfect.
Well, do you want me to answer that, or
go ahead? Do you think they can make it?
No, absolutely not. I think that for once we have three sides that are winning winning games most weekends, and that you are conceding too many goals. They're almost not taking this race for third place seriously. It's almost like they think, okay, we'll do the same as last season. We'll just play catch up until May. But it's just not happening. I mean, you're not supposed to be losing games at Caen. You're not supposed to be losing games at home to Lille, and you're not. I mean, they have lost to Geoffroy Guichard before, but maybe not in this manner. not as bad to me, in my opinion.
No, and to think they've still got the top three at some point this season, yeah, it's tough sledding still ahead. But Lana, what do you think? They're 12 points off Nice, who are in third. They're only, well, now they've allowed Saint-Etienne back into the race for fourth as well, because they're only just a point behind their rivals. Can Lyon fight for that Champions League place, or do you think it's completely beyond them now?
You know, I'm a romantic, so I still believe this will choke. That's my money is on them to choke. I think because of experience that they have a valid effort and try to be in the race, and I think experience will beat them. And Lyon do, playing catch up until the end. They shouldn't be, because their squad is good enough to be in third, in top three. But it's the mistakes. It's like they're doing this on purpose. It's so frustrating to watch. A fan and who's someone who hates them, and just the way they crumbled last, with Tolisso, Chazal, and it me to watch just these talented players not showing up in such a huge and important game. And yes, they have a match in hand, but who knows? They might just go on to lose to Metz because it's Lyon, and then they could go on to beat PSG because they're so bad. They beat Monaco, then went on to lose to Lorient, which they shouldn't. They should build on the monument, but
it's stressful. It's probably the best way to put it. Yeah, and like you say, it'd be one heck of a choke if Nice lose 12 points in that. It'd be
they wouldn't be the first team to choke.
No, true. It wouldn't be completely out of the question. Let's talk about, Eric, the news that came out as well just before the game, which was Lacazette's comments about leaving the club probably in the summer with Canal Plus. I'll just quote it very quickly that he said, "I think that in this summer will be the moment when I must have a change of air and discover something else. I want to continue working, and I'll hope that there will be some good opportunities on the way this summer." Is this the right time for him to leave the club?
Yeah, now he's 26 in May. If he's not playing Champions League football next year, who can blame him? I think that he's sometimes had a bit of a sulky attitude, but I think on the whole, his goal record speaks for itself. And not only his goal record, but his work rate. He's good at pressing from the front. He's good at defending from the front. He's maybe a little bit lacking in physicality, but he's as close to a major. As close to a perfect striker as you could ask for that's playing outside the Champions League right now. I think I think that he's the type of player who, given his versatility, would be interesting to Barcelona. If Aubameyang goes in the summer, would he interest Borussia Dortmund? Dortmund are another team that are in danger of not making the Champions League. There's a lot of attractive destinations for him. The Premier League always has money. Maybe you've got 6 teams vying for that spot. Vying for those 4 spots in England, whichever one of them doesn't make it, maybe he goes to England. I think it just makes too much sense for him not to go. And I'd frankly be worried about, if Lyon don't make the Champions League, frankly be worried about Tolisso and Fekir beyond that as well.
Lana, what do you think? Do you think his time is run? I know you're hoping he joined your beloved Juventus as well, but do you think his time is run at Lyon?
I think it's time for him to move on. We saw that with Umtiti last season. His work was basically done. He needed new challenges to go on to bigger things, and it's time for Lacazette. He stayed on. He brought him to, got him into the Champions League with Fekir, then without Fekir, and it's time for him to move on. Develop even further. And I think if he wants to play for the national team, he needs to leave. Deschamps isn't a fan of Lyon players at all. So if he wants a chance to play consistently for France, he needs to leave. And whether it's for England or Germany or Italy or Spain, it just depends. I mean, there's a lot of big clubs that are this summer, and I think he'd do really well in Germany if Aubameyang does leave, because I thought my money is on him joining them, and he would do so well. They have such an exciting front attack as well, and he would thrive in Germany. and Tolisso will leave as well. I think Fekir will stay, but I think the two big names to leave Lyon this summer will be Lacazette and Tolisso.
Yeah, and he probably fills a really important leadership void as well at Dortmund.
The timing is quite bad, though, isn't it? I mean, to say that in the first day of February is, I don't know. It doesn't send the right message. You are pretty much in crisis. It's, I don't know. It's just a bit unfortunate, the timing, I would say.
Philip, I wanted to get a quick word on Saint-Etienne from you. They've been improving in the last couple of weeks, and like we mentioned, that win puts them 1 point off fourth place. They've slowly and steadily and sneakily, as they always seem to do, very quietly and very professionally, so we say is the best way to describe their style of football, got into that high position in the league again this season.
Well, yeah, I mean, we're going to have to talk about this at some point during the show. Is that you were playing against a side that were quite solid at the back and actually did something, had a good game in the derby. Took the goals quite well. I think it was the first time they scored a first half goal or something like that. Maybe only in Liga, but I heard this kind of statistic. A very well taken goal as well. And as usual, I mean, you've got players like Pirate, Catherine Pogba, who are extremely solid at the back, know how to defend the lead. The only thing that could have been worse for you is having Ruffier in goal, but Moulin had a rather good game, and the only chance I would say you'll show scored from is a Tolisso free header where Moulin was not really out of his goal, but yeah, not really in it either. But anyways, this begs the question on not only will is that a case of just me being a bit too pessimistic, but will you even finish fourth, because Saint-Etienne are in a good position and both sides are in the Europa League, so they're having the same competition. Granted, Saint-Etienne have a tougher opposition than Lyon, I would think, Manchester United and Alkmaar. But you know, it's not just these two. Then you have the rest of the league, especially Marseille and Bordeaux, who are breathing down Lyon's neck. So there could be quite an interesting fight for fourth in that manner. I mean, do we expect Lyon now to trounce Nancy somehow, or what do we expect?
To finish in top three.
Okay.
For Wednesday, I think Nancy.
Yeah, for Wednesday. I mean, this is massive. I mean, it is quite big. They are expected to get the 3 points. Nancy just won at Nantes, which is not that easy these days. I don't know. I just don't see a banker home win.
Well, I mean, you're also going to be playing without Gazal and Tolisso. That makes a big difference. I mean, Start has looked, I think, really good going this year, but you know, he doesn't offer the same drive going forward from midfield that Tolisso does. I think that's a huge miss. Nancy has struggled with injuries. They've had kind of a makeshift back four in recent weeks, but you know, Correa gets his team up for it really well. And I don't know. I think you're absolutely right. It's not a banker home win whatsoever.
And then there's a trip to Guingamp, which, well, probably not as good as in the first half of the season. It's not, not easy. Not easy.
Yeah. And just news coming in that, according to L'Equipe, Lyon are going to hold out for 70 million euros for Alexandre Lacazette in the summer, which definitely sounds like Jean-Michel Aulas to me. That doesn't surprise me in one little bit. We'll move on now to Monaco, who beat their rivals Nice at the Stade Louis II with a convincing 3-0 scoreline. They also notched up 100 goals for the season, which is utterly insane. Eric, how strong of a position is the Principality club now at the top of the league, having picked up 4 points from a possible 6 in the last 2 weeks against their nearest rivals?
No, I think they're doing fantastically well. We've seen Benjamin Mendy be fantastic when it counts this season. He's a player, except in the last Lyon, I would say. He's a player about whom I had some doubts. I thought that he's a little bit overpriced coming in. I think that he's a wonderful player going forward, great crosser of the ball, but sometimes a little rash in the challenge and not that great positionally in defense. But I think that he's shown against Spurs and against Nice the quality, the difference that he makes, an upgrade on that left back position. I mean, what was that last year? Alderson and Fabio Contral. It wasn't a position of quality. Monaco did well this summer to address needs. They placed faith in the likes of Germain, who had offers to leave in the summer, and the same with Falcao. And they're reaping the rewards of that. I think they have a coherent way forward. They had faith in Bakayoko too. I mean, he's a player that, let's face it, hadn't had much playing time before this season due to injuries in the form of Kondogbia and Touloulan. So there's a lot to be said for the way this team have just gotten things right, and knock on wood, are set going forward. Barring injuries, fixture congestion continue to be a problem. They're still involved in the cup. They're still involved in the Coupe de la Ligue. I would assume they're going to. I would favor them against Manchester City at this point. So they're probably looking at least another 4 Champions League matches. Whether they continue to balance this is going to be the real question. But again, Jardim's not been afraid to rotate players. It's just a matter of how the team looks. In defense is my main worry. I think Kamil Glik is the real key to all of this. How do they cope without him if he were to be injured? But on the whole, yeah, I mean, I don't think you can praise Monaco. There are enough words to praise Monaco right now. Things are just going exactly the way that they planned, and that's a testament to the faith that they have in their players and in Jardim as a manager.
And you've briefly mentioned him there, but the Colombian striker Falcao, Lana, has really returned to form this season. He scored a goal in just under every 85 minutes per start he's made. That's 14 goals in 13 starts. He's been a real catalyst, and finally someone have a real focal point at Monaco at the front of the attack that's propelling them forward a little bit extra this season.
Yeah, he's been very impressive. It's good to see him back in form, especially since he was so poor at United. So it's good to see him scoring. And what I love about Monaco is they're not solely reliant on him. The goals are spread all over the team, and they're joy to watch. This season, especially him being in form and helping out in defense, midfield, whatever it's needed. They're working together, and they're a team that most teams in League One should aspire to be like. Even in the Champions League, they've been the most entertaining team, in my opinion, this season. And City will really struggle against them, especially if they continue to be defensively strong, which is the backbone of that team, which could lead them to win the title as well.
Yeah, he's been really terrific, and it's so good to watch it. And Philip, with that gap they have now, it's not the biggest of gaps yet. It's only a couple of points still, but they've played both their two main rivals twice now. Their fixture list coming up isn't, let's say, it's not the toughest one, especially how they were knocking teams out, especially the lower ranked teams that they've got quite a few of in a row. They have just to list them off quickly: is Montpellier, Metz, Bastia, Guingamp, Nantes, Bordeaux, Caen before they play the cup final, and then Saint-Etienne's probably the next difficult game, maybe early April. They could really have this sewn up, couldn't they, if other teams continue to be indifferent?
I think both sides will be head-to-head until May, whatever happens in the Champions League and whatever happens in March and April. I think PSG have shown once again that they are capable of winning without deserving it. Once again at Dijon, and sometimes being completely cocky and awfully arrogant about playing football against sides that are not in the top three. But Monaco are free-flowing. They are playing their football, and when they are playing their football, they are winning. The first half of the game against Nice was a bit disappointing. I was quite disappointed to see Lucien Favre playing almost a 5-4-1, which was probably the most negative formation you could possibly play. And it was a bit. It was a bit like Jardim playing a rather not negative 4-3-3, but very high pressure 4-3-3 at the Parc des Princes, where basically each side that were traveling to another member of the top three, they had more of a defensive mindset than their usual game. I mean, no problem with that. It's fair enough to Jardim for the game at the Parc des Princes, fair enough to Favre for the game on Saturday. But it is a shame that Nice didn't take the game more to Monaco, because I don't think the scoreline reflects Well, the scoring does reflect Monaco's superiority towards Nice, but I do believe Nice deserve to score at least a goal. Subasic pulled up some really amazing saves. I do believe it'll be going back to the original question. I do believe it will be a close title race, and I do fear sometimes, well, not exactly fear, that maybe Monaco progressing in the Champions League, we all hope they do, could be some kind of a drawback in their quest of winning the title. Because they can do both, that could be great.
Yeah, if they can do every single cup competition, it'd be a pretty outstanding thing. And
Yeah.
Eric, I want to talk about Nice a little bit now. And they, while they were probably second best in this one, they did have a fair few chances through the likes of Player and Esric. Maybe is this a story of them not finishing off chances when they had them to keep this tie much closer, or were they really overawed in this one?
No, I don't think they were overawed at all. I think that, as you rightly say, they did look much brighter, especially after the introduction of Belhanda. I think he and Sari have been really missed in this little bit of a dip in form that Nice have had over January and into February. And I think once you've got those players back, once you've got them clicking, Ricardo Pereira is important as well. I do think that Nice will continue to be where they are. They don't have the distraction of either Cup or Europe. So they're going to be able to focus on the league. And well, Monaco have been lucky with injuries. PSG haven't. We're seeing Di Maria, Verratti, Thomas Meunier, Kevin Trapp. They don't have the same issues and the same concerns, potential, and real that the other two contenders have, and that could play into their favor. I think that Monaco are still the favorites, but I wouldn't shut Nice out, and I wouldn't discount them being, continuing to be a dangerous opponent in the title race. And I think PSG and Monaco are going to have a three-way battle on their hands, with no doubt.
Lana, finally on sort of Nice, I know you mentioned that you feel they might choke. Do you think their title challenge is over? They're only 3 points off the top, but let's say it's 4, because that goal difference is absolutely astronomical from Monaco. But are Nice out of it now with those two bigger heavyweight clubs above them?
So far, they're not. If they do continue to perform as they have, who knows? They might have a shot at it. But I think the top two will be PSG and Monaco. So sadly for Nice, I do enjoy watching them, and do finish 4th solely because I have so much faith in Lyon actually making it to 3rd. But if they don't, I hope that Nice does, because it's been a joy to watch them this season. My only concern is if they'll take the Champions League seriously, because they didn't take the Europa League seriously at all this season. So that's my main issue with them if they do finish in top 3.
Yeah, and that's going to be an interesting question come the summer. What resources they've got and what they can bring in to enhance that squad to maybe at least give a competitive side to that Champions League. But we'll move on to the January transfer window now that slammed shut earlier this week, and we mentioned it briefly on our Thursday podcast as well. There was a number of exciting deals that passed through Liga. Excuse me. Dimitri Payet, Julian Draxler, and Memphis Depay all joined League One. So, simply put, Philip, is this Ligue 1's best ever window?
We're going to have to say something about Payet returning to Marseille, and some of the comments said of so-called British football English football pundits saying that they took Payet from a negative league, from a shit league. Well, guess what? Payet is going back to this shit league to play for a club he likes playing for. I think this is the start of French clubs having a bit of money, more than we usually do. So not only do you have PSG and Monaco, but now Lille are starting to buy some decent players. El Ghazi is a quite wonderful player from Ajax Amsterdam, and a couple of other players are not necessarily coming from abroad, but when you have clubs like Lille, who can buy players, and Marseille, that's 4 clubs, which is almost a quarter of the league, and that's quite big. That's quite big. So I don't think this has been the greatest transfer window. I think in the summer it can be extremely interesting in what's in store. For instance, I'm not even quite sure Lacazette will be leaving the league. It is possible that he'll be staying.
That is a tempting one.
To just two. I mean, there's only 2 contenders, maybe 3. It would be really, really harsh to see him go to Marseille. But it's he didn't say he wanted to go abroad, or did he?
He's the only thing he's mentioned was Barcelona, which unsurprisingly most players tend to mention. Barcelona.
I'd like to play for Barcelona too, but so.
It can't be everyone's wish. But I want to make a point that while they're better signings than we've probably seen in winter windows, at least Dimitri Payet coming from the Premier League, that was a big coup. Julian Draxler, who's been watched by a number of different clubs across Europe in the past. Yes, he's maybe not had the best of time at Wolfsburg, but Paris Saint-Germain have stolen him under the noses of a number of other clubs. And Depay, who was mentioned as someone who could be a very good future star, is Man United bought him from PSV, and now Lyon have brought him in. Lana, is this Ligue 1 really having an impact and finally making some moves that could eventually, at least collectively, improve the league as a whole?
I think so. I think we've seen more clubs, having cash injections and being able to attract players from abroad. We've seen so many stay as well. So I think that with Depay joining Lyon, as Eric mentioned earlier, that it was more of a panic signing. They went out and signed Payet. The Lyon had to answer back, and in that case, they signed Depay when they could have spent the money on bringing Ente, even signing Longley, who went to Sevilla. I think, yeah. So, but I think it's been an interesting transfer window so far, with some big names coming through. I think also in the summer, depending on how the top 3 finishes, I think those 3 will be able to attract even bigger names. Maybe in the likes of Griezmann coming to PSG, who knows? So it will. I think it all depends on how the top 3 finishes this summer, and we'll also then see their ability.
Please be still, my Manchester United heart. Griezmann, don't listen to Lana. Eric, we've mentioned already that there seems to be a bit more money about now, and there were some interesting deals in the summer as well, with the likes of Balotelli and Dante going to Nice as well. Is this maybe something positive to think about for the future for French football fans, that they might eventually be not only being able to attract those better players to improve the quality of the league, but keeping some of these young players that we rave so often about?
Yeah, I think the second part of your question really hits the nail on the head. I think that if we look at some of the players that have left in the recent past, not all of them maybe are worth their fees, but Mario Lemina, Clinton Angie, George Kevin Nkudu, Divock Origi. They're not all French. Origi's Belgian, but keeping these types of players and allowing them to develop can be a template for success. And we've seen Lyon do that to some degree. And I think that teams don't necessarily need to strike a balance, right? It can't just be spending money on players, because let's face it. The money that's around in the Premier League and the Chinese League, and even Germany and Italy and Spain to some extent, Ligue 1 can't compete with that at this point in time. They're loath to reschedule matches because they can't afford to rehire the stewards. Let's face it. This league is wonderful for developing talent, but isn't on a level financial playing field with the rest of the top 4 league or top 5 leagues in Europe. So there are going to continue to be these, the odd quote unquote marquee signing. Of course, Monaco, PSG, Lyon, Nice, Marseille, Lille have this money. But for the rest of the league, I think it remains to be seen whether there'll be any sort of trickle-down effect. And the rest of the league should continue to do what they've been doing. We've seen a lot of this year. I think there is a movement towards this, is to keep these young players, sign them to longer-term contracts, which will either allow them to continue to develop in a positive way for those teams, or to get a higher transfer fee for them. We've seen that with Not, Amin Harit. We've seen that with Guingamp, with Ludovic Blas, Tobias Badila. The Nancy player just signed an extended deal. He's a player I really like as well. So that sort of thing, I think, is really what needs to be a focus for teams. Not an all or nothing approach, but striking a balance between having more money, but also a focus on developing these younger talents that are within the league. I mean, Jordan Amavi, I think, is another one that kind of got away. I don't know. There's a lot of examples of players like this that could have been had for a reasonable fee and could have been, approaching world class in Ligue 1 rather than, riding the bench somewhere else.
It's always an interesting point that finally money might be able to keep some of these players in the league. But let's talk about some of the deals from that winter window, though. And I wanted to quickly get all of your thoughts on what your favourite or for you thought the best deals were, and also what you thought the worst deals of this window were. Philip, I'll start with you. What was your favourite, and then what was your, let's say, disliked deal?
I didn't particularly like Rennes selling Entep and Grosicki. Well, granted, they didn't make 17.5 million euros from those sales, but yeah, it's a bit same to the fans. Hey, we've got good players, we're selling them. That's I don't know. It would be a bit. I would be a bit pissed off if I was a Rennes fan. I really don't want to be biased on this one.
Be biased
because I want because actually Evra is not bad. Not that bad a deal, but yeah, I reckon Draxler is a good deal. He's been playing some decent football, but yeah. On the other hand, you have Evra and Payet and Sanson as well, who on paper, Sertic as well is not a bad move, that have been good for Marseille. I'm going to go for Draxler for argument's sake.
That's okay. Eric, what was your favourite deal and what was your least favourite deal?
I think Andy Delors has the potential to be huge for Toulouse. I think that he's a proven performer in this league, and we've seen immediately how playing that front three of Jean and Braithwaite on the wing around Oscar Trejo makes the whole team better. Toulouse were flying at the beginning of the season. They dropped off quite steeply, but I think given the inconsistency we've seen, aside from that top three, that a challenge for European football is not totally out of the question, especially given that a lot of teams above them are still active in the cups. So I think that could be a really impressive move. A worse move, I think Gonçalo Guedes from Benfica. I think given the fee paid for him and what he's achieved, I think that's way over the odds, and it's also not addressing position of need for PSG. So I don't see what the point was there, and I think that it's just a strange transfer to me.
You've been watching him,
Guedes?
Yeah.
I didn't watch the match this weekend, but he didn't seem to do anything in the two matches he came on.
No, I mean at Benfica.
No, but I mean we had Thiago on the preview show a couple weeks ago, and he was very down on it. He says that Guedes isn't a bad player, but he plays as a second striker. That's not a role that makes sense in a 4-3-3. So unless Emery is planning long term to make a tactical switch to bring this player in when you need another central striker, I mean, basically, what's the point?
Because I myself asked a Portuguese acquaintance of mine what he thought. Always sort of Guedes. Well, he doesn't really watch the Liga Sagres as much as he used to. He lives in England now, and well, first of all, it wasn't quite clear what this guy's position was, and he basically said the same thing. It said he's okay, but 30 million, no, it's a bit steep. But I did like his appearance against Monaco. I thought he was okay. but we shall see.
Might be a slow burner, that one, shall we say?
Yeah. Well, we'll talk about him very soon.
They can afford it.
Yeah,
so why not?
They kind of, yes.
That's the very good point. Lana, what was your favourite deal of the window, and what do you think was your least favourite?
I like that Draxler came to PSG. I think I like him as a player. He's been linked to other clubs a lot in the past. So for PSG to sign him, it was a good move for them. The deal I least enjoyed was seeing Morgan Sanson being sold to Marseille, just because I really wanted him at Lyon. I think that they had a good window, Marseille, signing Payet, but that they just made a statement. They still need to strengthen the defense. And as my views on Depay is still mixed. I mean, maybe it's it's a long-term replacement for Lacazette, who looks like he's leaving in the summer, or someone to bring in to help him offload. But they still needed to strengthen in other areas before signing him. But my favorite signing was Draxler, without a doubt.
I'm going to throw Sheikh Diabate into that hat as well with Metz. I think he was excellent at the weekend again as well, and he scored 2 goals in his debut. Is really might add something to that, a team who desperately need extra players down in that real dogfight of the league. But we'll finish this week with a team that Eric mentioned perfectly, and that's Toulouse, who, after going 400 minutes without a goal, they burst into life against Angers with a 4-0 win, all coming in the second half as well. Eric, I'll start with you since you spoke so well about them. Is this the start of a reinvigoration at Le TFC, or is it with these new faces playing in this formation, or is it maybe a false dawn to crown them just yet?
No, I don't think it's a false dawn at all. And this is why. I think that we have that front four in particular. They all have perhaps something to prove. And I think that because of that, they're going to be playing with a little bit less selfishness. Jimmy Dermaz and Isiaga Silla are decent enough players. They're certainly of a league on standard, but I don't think that they necessarily have that lack of selfishness and that lack of ability to work as an attacker that and the same with Ola Toivonen, that we've seen from Martin Braithwaite in the past. We've seen from Andy Delors. Andy Delors last season with Caen, again, they were still a struggling team, but much of their effectiveness came from Delors' ability to run and to get about and to press and to be a nuisance up top. Martin Braithwaite's got a similar work rate. He's adaptable as well, and Corentin Jean, I think, is going to want to prove himself, given that he might have a chance to be a more important player at Monaco next season if Lamar and or Silva do leave in the summer. God forbid. I hope they do stay, but I think that there's a very high level of motivation to approach their attacking style from a more an ethos that's more grounded in teamwork than we've seen. And again, Jimmy Dermaz is a sublime player with the ball at his feet, but he's a little bit selfish at times. Isiaga Silla is a hard worker. I don't know that he's necessarily that talented creatively. But now you've got that front four. You've got the young central midfielders, Blanc and Bodiger. You've got Julien and Diop, who've been solid all season in defense. Steve Iago's coming back from AFCON. I think you've got and Alban Lafont, of course, as well. You've got a really solid team, top to bottom. And again, Toulouse, no cup distractions. They've got every opportunity to hit it. And before the international break, I think we've got 7 matches left, something in that neighborhood. It would not surprise me to see Toulouse back up to the 4th and 5th place that they've been in for much of the early part of the season.
It is 7 games.
Yes. And just going quickly through them, there's Lorient, Bastia, there's PSG, Nancy, Lille, Lyon, and then there's Rennes just before that international break. So there's maybe a couple of difficult ones in there, but there's a couple of winnable ones in there. And I watched the highlights of this game a bit. It was about the 10-minute sort of highlight section, and some of the football that Jean and Delors and Braithwaite played together with Trejo as well. Absolutely fabulous little link plays between them. I thought Jean was excellent created the assist for the first one, won the penalty as well. Delors was a threat consistently. Braithwaite added to that. They're like a hound of dogs almost running around the pitch. It was really, really great to see. And even Ola Toivonen got involved at one point as well, which, seemed like a strange thing that he gets into the score sheet. But Lana, do you agree with that? Thinking of Eric, with other teams distracted and bits like that from cup competition still involved, and a real mix of teams that are indifferent in that middle of the table, that they maybe could make a run for those European spots?
Yeah, with that, I think they'll, with only having one, which is the league, they'll do better. No risk of injuries. The squad staying fresh, being able to rotate, and I quite enjoy watching Toulouse solely because players in their team. So I'm rooting for them to do well, and I hope that Ola Toivonen continues to score. His form is vital for Sweden.
Yeah, especially now. Yeah, with Zlatan gone, it's a little bit more crucial that he keeps scoring goals.
That's your club's fault, not mine.
I'll take that. Yes, Philip. What do you think? Like Eric mentioned, there's maybe some issues in the centre of midfield a little bit, but they have a solid centre back pairing, a good young goalkeeper, some really exciting attacking players. Could they be rising up the league?
Well, when they were you don't say out the rise, but when they were close to the top of the league, most of the talk was about how Duprat did a great job. He avoided the drop. He put Lefort in the goal mouth. He gave Diop his chance, which is a very good move. And this summer they got Christopher Julien. But the thing is, attacking wise, they were good. I mean, that's not really a problem. But it just looked like it was running out of steam. With Corentin and with Andy Delors, they do have a decent attack on paper, and we've seen on the pitch. Saying this, I do believe that. Let's not get carried away. It was only Angers who have not been as solid as last season, and that Toulouse will have quite a tough run of fixtures. I'm not even actually sure they could go on and win at Lorient in 2 days. The game is on Wednesday. A game against Bastia, and it's PSG. I honestly reckon that as a club and Duprat just want to say, okay, we are not to be concerned with the relegation fight, which they seriously were before kickoff yesterday, because they were only 5 points clear of the drop, and had Angers won, it would have been 4, even less, I think. Maybe 2, which just goes to show how crazy this second half of the table is. So yeah, Europe is a bit it's a bit too optimistic for me, and but the club will be very, very happy to finish anywhere between 8th and 14th, I would say.
Yeah, it would make a remarkable difference from last season, where they left it very, very late to stay in the league, full stop.
I still have no idea who's going down, though.
I don't think anyone's disagreeing with you. It changes every week again, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Eric, just to supplement this talk really about Toulouse, Duprat, we've mentioned before, is a very good motivational manager, as shown in that final game last season, and he's a great talker. But is he the right man to lead them further up the table? I'm not saying necessarily that he should be replaced, but do you think he's a strong enough character and a strong enough tactician to force them up further up the field?
In the short term or the long term?
Let's go short term.
Yeah, I mean, for the rest of the season, absolutely. I think he certainly deserves a chance based on what he achieved in the first 15 weeks of this season, and for what he did last season. I think that there have been some mitigating factors in terms of injuries there. I mean, Trejo was out for a long period of time. And how was it, Blanc or Bodiger? One of them had a heel injury that kept them out for 6 weeks or something like that. He's not had necessarily a full squad to deal with on a week-to-week basis, and I think that he deserves to see if he can get this team closer to Europe. If they finish top 6 or top 7, I think keep him on. and go from there. And I don't think they're under necessarily under any pressure to sell any of these players with any sort of immediacy. I think he definitely deserves another roll of the dice in terms of trying to get European football next season.
Yeah, and it's obviously a great plus to have those sort of luxuries, really. That's all we have time for this week. My thanks to Lana, Eric, and Philip. Join us for the preview show hosted by Eric on Thursday, and we will see you here at the same time, same place next week. Abianto and goodbye.